But if you recall in our first episode, I said that I think that this is a closer call in terms of like the Vikings could actually win this thing. So I stand by that. And if they're able to maintain this and Justin Jefferson is able to play like an MVP candidate, then we'll see. I mean,
I think it was his second touchdown, but he literally juked out like two crossing corners and was just wide open.
is there anyone close in that top two in terms of receivers right now? Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson?
Like the thing is no, because I think last year when we were kind of, at least I think the conversation was in terms of both for like all pro bowl, whatever.
Between you and me?
No, between you and me, but also just generally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was like it was basically like Jamar Jefferson and Deebo. And Deebo to me, one, is more like his utility doesn't only reside in him as a receiver, and also I don't know how replicable that season is.
Exactly.
Whereas Jefferson and Chase to me, it's like their
So that's
skills.
a receivers, receivers,
Absolutely,
right?
and their skills and their skills and body type and like savvy, I just think are like head and shoulders above the rest of the league.
And
Except for Cup, of course. Cup is, I think, maybe the only person I would also include, obviously.
I would, but I think there's Cup is really, really good. But part of me is like, how much does he benefit from that offense being so perfect for him, and his skill set in particular? Like, you could put Justin Jefferson, and you did. You put Justin Jefferson in Mike Zimmer's terrible,
Right,
terrible.
right.
I mean, it wasn't his offensive system. He didn't seem to really even be involved in it. But when Zimmer was at the helm of that team, and he neglected the offense seemingly entirely. Justin Jefferson was still phenomenal. And now you put him with an offensive coach. In terms of right now, and I'm not talking about past production, guys. Like, I understand that fantasy can skew these things, but Devontae Adams, no. Stefon Diggs, no. Physically, just watch these guys in terms of how they look compared to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Those two guys, you can put them on any team and they would have more success than a lot of other players. Those other receivers, Deebo, Diggs, Cup, Devontae, Tyreek, really, really good. But for right now in 2022, I don't think it's particularly close. And those two guys are just head and shoulders above everyone else.
And don't get me wrong, Devontae really did look great this week. He had one unbelievable route where he literally had I might have been I think it might have been Asante Samuel Jr. just literally like turned backwards.
Totally juked him out.
But I think it also just might be partially an aesthetic preference, but I really just think it's also just like watching these guys like I think seeing the way Jefferson played yesterday and also just seeing how Chase played all of last season, I think I'm taking both of those guys if I wanted a cornerstone wide receiver and I'm like rostering a football team. I think I'm still taking those two guys over Devontae.
Now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And also
they're younger.
And age too. I think age is a big factor as well. Like,
and I would even in Devontae's heyday, I think they're better than him. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, they get more separation. Chase, it's way more separation. I take Chase first. I mean, I just think the size and
that's the thing.
He's the best receiver in football.
And
but Jefferson's amazing too.
Right. He's essentially untacklable.
Yeah.
Chase. Like he can shake. Like it's almost impossible for me to understand how exactly you game plan for a guy like Jamar Chase.
You can't.
Like, how do you actually bring him down consistently? How do you cover him consistently? How do you block him? How do you keep him out of the red zone? It's like he is like a cheat code.
And he was part of the reason that the Bengals were still in it despite those 5 turnovers. But I mean, and the Steelers, despite being so well coached on the defensive side of the ball, could not stop him. Couldn't stop him. Could not stop him. They are incredible, and LSU just churns these
seriously.
guys out.
Literally, like wide receiver university is LSU.
And Jamar Chase, he's in Cincinnati, such a small market. Minnesota, definitely a bigger market. But in terms of like the way Jefferson does the gritty, and you see all these kids, like Vikings fans, doing it too on the internet and loving him so much, I don't think there's been a more marketable receiver for young people since Odell Beckham Jr. was in New York. And there's a difference because New York is this huge market. But think about it in terms of like how the youths, and I try to keep up with it, but just how people are responding to a guy just having so much swag and
Charisma.
charisma and dominance.
Yeah, and backing it all up with his talent.